Welcome to Hero Villains. What do you think when Lucifer faces the great darkness? Before there was light, before there was the universe, before there was even the concept of good and evil, an entity existed. Not God, not a devil, but a primordial darkness so absolute that its very existence was a curse upon all creation. On one side stands the fallen light, the most beautiful and most powerful angel ever created, the one who abandoned the throne of heaven, rules hell, and wages war against the Almighty himself, Lucifer Morningstar. On the other side stands the great darkness, the negation of all creation, the entity that existed before even God's intervention, the embodiment of the primordial void that even the Creator must regard with caution, the great darkness. When the first light confronts the primordial darkness, when the ultimate rebel clashes with the ultimate negation, who will be the final sovereign of reality? Lucifer Morningstar is one of the most powerful entities in the DC universe. In the hierarchy of power, he ranks only behind his twin brother, Michael Demiurgos, and ultimately remains beneath the supreme creator, God of the Covenant. Before the multiverse was born, Yahweh created his first two sons and bestowed upon each a portion of his own absolute nature. Samael, the original name of Lucifer, was granted infinite will and the divine flame. Meanwhile, Michael was given the power of creation and the divine strength capable of birthing all existence. It was Michael who shaped the universe from the void, and Lucifer who used absolute will to define, arrange, and transform all creation into complete reality. Michael represents the infinite power of God, capable of creating or destroying on an unlimited scale. However, he lacks the ability to perfect and shape what he creates. Conversely, Lucifer cannot create matter from nothingness, but he can transform anything that already exists into any form he desires. That is the manifestation of the absolute will that God bestowed upon him. Possessing this nature, Lucifer can manipulate reality on a nearly limitless level, rendering all conventional laws of space, time, and matter meaningless before his power. Lucifer also possesses near omniscient knowledge, rivaling the awareness of his own father. He can open gateways to any realm of existence, instantly teleport across all spatial dimensions, and appear anywhere in a mere moment. His physical strength alone is sufficient to hurl a human beyond Earth's gravitational pull. He can freely travel across the universe, open or dismantle any barriers between worlds, and simultaneously freeze any entity merely with his will. Lucifer once destroyed the embodiment of God in the first world and easily shattered the very box that once imprisoned Basanos, a creation notorious for being virtually indestructible. With an age extending far beyond the concept of time and a status even more ancient than the Angel of Death, Lucifer Morningstar is regarded as one of the most formidable, enigmatic, and fearsome entities ever to exist. Lucifer Morningstar has renounced all titles once bound to his being. He is no longer an angel of heaven, nor is he the Lord of hell. Before all those definitions, he is now only Lucifer Morningstar, the most ancient name given by God himself since the dawn of existence. With that name, he opened the doorway to the void, also known as Nihilo, a region of existence lying beyond all laws of creation. Moreover, Lucifer can penetrate the mind of any individual without encountering any barrier or limitation whatsoever. His will is strong enough to overcome all layers of mental defense and directly affect the consciousness of his target. In addition, he commands fire on an absolute level, manipulating and wielding this power as an inherent part of his own essence. Lucifer has also received the demiurgic blast from his twin brother Michael, a source of energy carrying the infinite power of God. Lucifer's power reaches a level where he can hold an entire world in the palm of his hand. He single-handedly created a complete universe with a scale and degree of perfection rivaling the universe of the presence. During that process, he also birthed time, space, and all the operating laws of the new world. Lucifer further crafted his own Garden of Eden, simultaneously creating versions of Adam and Eve as symbols for the dawn of life. Not stopping there, he also possesses the ability to create souls from pure will and summon them into independent, physically existing entities. For Lucifer, concepts such as infinity or the infinite are merely ordinary phenomena. Lucifer's will is completely unbound by any law or limitation whatsoever. God himself once revealed a vision of Michael's death, while also witnessing Lucifer shatter colossal gates into countless fragments using only his own power. His speed also reaches a level difficult to comprehend. Lucifer can fly around an entire planet before an observer can register that he has vanished from sight. From the very moment God began the work of creation, the first two entities brought into being were Michael and Lucifer. The two brothers built the universe together to fulfill their father's will. It is precisely because he carries within himself the primordial essence of creation that Lucifer nearly transcends the concepts of life and death, rendering death utterly powerless and without any dominion over his existence. The presence transformed Cheoplasm into hell for Lucifer to rule, as this was the furthest point from the primum mobile. This was a gift to Lucifer to escape omniscience, but later Lucifer realized that this was not the truth, and that he remained part of Yahweh's grand plan. Lucifer is the shepherd of suns. He can easily create suns, just as he once did to destroy several frost giants in Norse mythology. Lucifer killed Giz and Garames, the children of chaos, because they had usurped the supreme power of Yahweh. Lucifer annihilated the giants by reversing time and exploding them before they could attain omnipotent power. Lucifer watched 20 billion years pass in the blink of an eye during the next age of creation. I truly hope you will. Subscribe to the channel, that would help us immensely, and you are the most wonderful person. Thank you so very much. Now let us talk about the Great Darkness. The Great Darkness is one of the most powerful entities ever to appear within the multiverse system. Over many years, the origin and nature of this entity have been explained in various different ways. However, following the Dark Crisis event, the official history of the Great Darkness has been clearly established. Before the DC multiverse was born, all of existence was merely an endless void covered by absolute darkness. There was no time, no space, and no form of life existed. Everything only changed when light suddenly appeared, initiating the process of creation and giving birth to countless universes. The emergence of light shattered the primordial state of equilibrium, causing the Great Darkness to perceive life and the process of creation as something unacceptable. Instead of directly destroying the multiverse, this entity chose a more subtle path. It continuously corrupted individuals possessing extraordinary power, turning them into catalysts for a series of crises that have shaken the entire multiverse system. What is astonishing is that even Dr. Manhattan, an entity possessing nearly infinite power and capable of manipulating the fabric of reality, was not entirely immune to its influence. The Great Darkness also controlled Darkseid, and was further confirmed to be the master of powerful multiversal entities such as the Empty Hand and the Gentry organization. These details reveal that Darkseid was not the ultimate source of every cataclysm, but merely a pawn under the dominion of a power that far surpasses him. However, Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths issue 4 brought forth an entirely different truth. The Great Darkness is not the embodiment of absolute evil as everyone once believed. In essence, it is merely a neutral, multiversal entity, representing one half of the primordial equilibrium of existence. The reason it became a threat does not originate from its own nature, but from another force that has been silently corrupting that power. This secret was brought to light in Dark Crisis: The Deadly Green, when John Samuel Kent merged with Swamp Thing and extended his consciousness into the very core of the darkness. There, he discovered that Pariah's machine was directly poisoning and distorting the nature of the Great Darkness. This discovery completely altered the perception of this ancient entity, while also confirming that Pariah was the one truly behind the process of corruption, turning an originally neutral force into the source of countless catastrophes spanning across the multiverse. In the Dark Crisis event, Pariah demonstrated a scale of power at a level capable of nearly consuming the entire multiverse. Not only threatening the main universe system, the wave of destruction he generated also spread and engulfed other multiverses, causing the boundaries between realities to gradually collapse. Simultaneously, the Dark Army under Pariah's command also controlled and restructured an entire multiverse, turning it into a tool serving his plan. Mighty entities such as Trigon were no longer individuals acting according to their own will, but merely existed as pawns manipulated within the entirety of Pariah's strategy. However, an important truth gradually came to light. The Great Darkness never directly commanded these actions. The very nature of that entity is the primordial darkness of existence. Therefore, anyone who makes contact with that source of power inherently faces the risk of being corrupted naturally. This process is not a command or deliberate control, but an inevitable consequence when a finite will comes into contact with power that far exceeds the capacity for control. It is precisely for that reason that the series of crises, which once shook the multiverse, were in truth merely tiny sparks of light appearing before the presence of the Great Darkness. What Pariah created was only akin to a brief performance in a colossal cosmic circus. The Great Golden Deer foresaw Pariah's failure long ago and warned Constantine that after the current cataclysm, a far more ferocious crisis would yet emerge. Although Pariah orchestrated the entire Dark Crisis and possessed enough power to threaten the existence of countless universes, everything he wielded was in reality only a very small fraction of the power emanating from the Great Darkness. Crucially, Pariah never directly communicated with this entity, nor did he ever become its spokesman or a representative of its will. All belief that he was carrying out the mission of the Great Darkness was merely a delusion formed from his own twisted mind. Likewise, the Dark Army was not the true embodiment of the Great Darkness. They did not carry the will of that primordial entity, but were merely creations Pariah fashioned using the portion of power he had usurped. The Great Darkness is one of the most enigmatic and powerful entities ever to appear in history. At that time, the war between the Anti-Monitor and the entire multiverse was raging with immense ferocity. Exploiting the chaos generated by the crisis, a mysterious cult conducted a ritual to summon the Great Darkness into reality with the sole purpose of destroying God himself. To prevent this catastrophe, Swamp Thing and John Constantine assembled the most powerful sorcerers on Earth. Even the Spectre, the embodiment of divine wrath, joined the confrontation. However, when facing the Great Darkness, they all realized that their power was virtually meaningless. Instead of continuing the conflict, the Great Darkness chose to establish a truce with its eternal opposite, the light. It was this fragile balance between the two primordial forces that became the foundation for reality to continue existing. Without that accord, all of creation could have been obliterated long ago. Yet the nature of the Great Darkness has never changed. It remains an ancient power carrying within itself the capacity for near absolute destruction. The scale of the Great Darkness's power far exceeds every conventional standard of might. It exists as a primordial force capable of threatening all creation, forcing even the most powerful entities in the multiverse to acknowledge their own insignificance when standing before such nearly omnipotent power. This is the battle between the First Light and the primordial darkness. Lucifer, the greatest rebel, confronts the entity that existed before rebellion itself, before God. Lucifer is a creation of God. He is the light created to dispel the darkness. But the Great Darkness is that very darkness. This is a foundational paradox. Lucifer is mighty enough to create a universe, yet he remains a part of creation. The Great Darkness is not a part of creation. It is that within which creation was built. In terms of essence, the Great Darkness holds the advantage. Lucifer is the embodiment of light, but the Great Darkness is not merely ordinary darkness. It is the absolute absence of light. Historically, Lucifer has illuminated all of creation, but he has never been able to illuminate the Great Darkness, because the Great Darkness lies outside of creation. Every time Lucifer generates light, the Great Darkness can simply swallow it, not by extinguishing it, but by submerging it in infinite emptiness. Light requires space to exist, but that very space is the Great Darkness, Lucifer. He defied God, the truly omnipotent being, and refused to bow. Can he use that will to defy the Great Darkness? Possibly. But the problem is that the great darkness does not demand that he bow. It does not demand anything. It does not want to rule him, it wants to erase him. Lucifer's will is so powerful that it can shape reality, but if the reality around him is erased, Lucifer is a master of strategy. He has defeated countless enemies stronger than himself through intellect, but the great darkness is not an enemy that can be deceived. It has no plans to be disrupted, no ambitions to be manipulated. It simply exists and expands. All of Lucifer's strategies rely on understanding the opponent's motives, but the great darkness has no motive. It is a blind, mindless, and non-negotiable force. The battle would take place at the edge of creation, where Lucifer's light is weakest and the great darkness's shadow is strongest. Lucifer would summon the full extent of his power, the flame of the morning, the light that birthed the universe, and hurl it into the heart of the great darkness. But instead of dispelling the darkness, the flame would be consumed, the light absorbed into infinite nothingness. Lucifer would realize that he cannot destroy this thing with power. He would change tactics. He would attempt to shape the realities surrounding the great darkness, creating a pocket universe to imprison it. But the great darkness cannot be imprisoned within anything, because everything is within it. He would attempt to travel back in time, returning to before the great darkness awakened. But the great darkness existed before time itself. It has always been there, at every moment. Lucifer understands that he cannot defeat the great darkness through direct confrontation, but he also knows that the great darkness cannot destroy him completely because he is a part of God's will. He would retreat, not out of fear, but because he realizes that this battle is meaningless. The great darkness is not his enemy. It is the foundation of everything, including himself. And in a universe where God permitted the great darkness to exist, Lucifer trying to destroy it is as meaningless as trying to destroy space itself. Lucifer Morningstar is one of the most powerful entities ever created. He can defeat gods, create universes, and challenge the omnipotent one himself. But his power, no matter how immense, still has limits within the framework of creation. The great darkness does not lie within that framework. It is what even creation cannot fill. Lucifer would not be destroyed. He would not be defeated in the traditional sense. He would endure. Like a tiny flame within infinite darkness, unable to be extinguished, yet also unable to dispel the darkness. He would come to understand that there are things even the first light cannot illuminate, not because it is not powerful enough, but because those things were not created to be illuminated. The great darkness is not the victor in the way we understand victory. It does not defeat Lucifer. It simply remains, as it has always remained, before there was Lucifer, before there was God, before there was anything. This is a battle where no one truly wins, but if one must choose the final entity left standing, it would be the Great Darkness. And that is our analysis of the battle between the fallen light and the Great Darkness. Let us know your opinion by commenting down below. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any upcoming Destined confrontations. That is today's video. Thank you very much.